is the robot. You guys do the robot to this one? You should. No dad joke today, just a dance lesson. Let's go. Okay, today, rock stars, we're going to talk about multiplying integers. Right? I mean, that's why you get on YouTube, is to multiply integers. You're not doing the shorts, you're doing multiplying integers. Let's get rocking. You really didn't think I was going to skip this chance to do a dad joke, did you? What do you call an apology written in dots and dashes? Remorse code. You got to know what Morse code is, and you guys might be too young to know what that is. Morse code. Well, remorse, like you're... Okay, whatever. Let's just move on. Let's move on and act like that didn't happen. All right, here we go. So, what's our target today? We're going to multiply two integers with signs that are the same or signs that are opposite. So playing around with multiplying integers. I have a modeling video about multiplying integers. If you haven't seen that, you should check it out. It really helps with the conceptual thinking about what it means to multiply integers. And also there's addition and subtraction videos out there with modeling and not and division and all that. It's good stuff. Go live it up. Okay, no vocab today because we already did it in the last video, which was about product, which is the answer to a multiplication problem. So let's do a little review on math lingo when it comes to multiplying integers. When you look at this, you say 4 times 3 because that's what it says. Duh, bro, let's go. But you can also look at it as saying it a little bit differently. Okay, this also means groups. So you can say 4 times 3, or you can also say 4 groups of 3. And when you're multiplying integers, it helps. So I would highly recommend getting into that. Okay, so what it looks like is I have 4 groups of 3. Here's a group of 3, here's a group of 3, here's a group of 3, and here's a group of 3. And when I have 4 groups of 3, it's going to give me 12. Okay, so 4 groups of positive numbers equals a positive number. Oh, wait a minute. That sounds like I'm heading towards a rule. Let's not ruin the movie. That's going to be at the end. All right, so 4 groups of 3 is going to go ahead and give us a positive 3. Now, what about this? If we have that sign there, it could also means groups. So you could say 4 times negative 3, which is what it says, or you can say 4 groups of negative 3. Hint, hint, hint. Do it that way. You're going to thank me later. So if I have 4 groups of negative 3, a negative 3, and another negative 3, and another negative 3, and another negative 3, that means I'm going to have a negative answer because they were all negative. Negative 3, negative 6, negative 9, negative 12. Very good, right? And so what that means is we have 4 groups of negative numbers equals a negative number. Oh, I see what you're doing here. So that means 4 groups of negative 3 gives us negative 12. Oh, more math lingo. Wait a second. There's a negative at the beginning. Okay, so this also means groups of 3. So you could say, read a negative at the beginning as an opposite. So instead of saying negative 4 times 3, you can say the opposite of 4 groups of 3. What does that mean? Well, here's 4 groups of 3. And it's going to give us a negative number because 4 groups of 3 is 12. But we want it to be the opposite of that, which makes it a negative 12. So our answer is negative 12. So 4 groups of 3 would be 3, 6, 9, 12. But we want the opposite of that, negative 12. Booyah. There's one more example. Let's see what we got here. All right, so now we have the negative at the beginning in both of our integers. So we have negative 4 and negative 3. So it also means groups. So we can say, when we look at that negative at the beginning, we're going to say opposite, and we're going to say the opposite of 4 groups of negative 3. So what does that mean? I got 4 groups of negative 3. Negative 3, negative 6, negative 9, negative 12. And so when we get the opposite of 4 groups of a negative number, we get a positive number, right? Because we just said this is negative 12, but we want the opposite of that. That is 12. And so our answer to this one is 12. So there are, hopefully conceptually that makes sense to you. If you just word them that way, what's the opposite of 4 groups of a negative number? Well, you're going to get a negative answer, but we want the opposite, so we want a positive. But there are rules that we can play with. So let's look and see if we find some rules here. So look at our numbers down there. We have 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. And negative 4 times negative 3 is 12. Do you see a pattern or anything down there that would kind of help you with this? Well, rule number 1, If the signs are the same, the answer is positive. Okay? So look here. That's 4 times 3 is 12. And those signs are the same. They're both positive. Okay? And this is -4 times -3 is also a positive 12 because the signs are the same. Okay? Now, I really want to stress this to you guys. We are talking about multiplication. You have adding rules and you have subtracting rules that hopefully you've watched my videos and got those understood. When we talk about multiplication, it's got different rules than adding and subtracting. I'm going to go ahead and give you a little teaser, though. The rules for multiplication are exactly the same as division, but we'll get to that later. So rule number 1, if the signs are the same, the answer is positive. Okay, when talking multiplication. Rule number 2, well, look here. Positive times a positive is a positive. Negative times a negative is a positive. All right, because remember down here, this may sound weird to you right now, but the opposite of 4 groups of -3. So that would be -3, -6, -9, -12. But we want the opposite of it. That guy up there messes everything up and makes it a positive, okay? Rule number 2, if the signs are opposite, the answer is negative. So here we have a positive and a negative. So +4 times -3 gives us a negative answer. And here we have -4 times a +3 gives us a negative answer. Because a negative times a positive is a negative, and a positive times a negative is a negative. So pretty simple if you just remember this. Rule 1, signs are the same, stay positive. Signs are different, oh man, it's negative town. Signs are different, negative. All right, so let's look at this. So you can just look at the problem and go ahead and solve it if you know the rules, but let's do it the first way. The opposite of 3 groups of -2. So the opposite of 3 groups of -2 would give us what? Well, if we have -2 and a -2 and a -2, that's going to give us -6. But we want the opposite of that, so that's going to give us a +6. Or rule number 1, signs are the same, negative and a negative. So just multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. The signs are the same, the answer is positive. All right, let's look at another one. Based on those rules, what do we have here? Are the signs the same or different? The signs are different. We have a +10 and a -7. So right off the bat, you know your answer is going to be negative because opposite signs are negative. And now what's 10 times 7? That's 70. Ooh, look at us go. All right. Now we have -8 times -4. Those seem like the same sign. So our answer is going to be positive. Rule number 1, signs are the same, it's positive. What's 8 times 4? 32. There's a beautiful 2. You can go ahead and celebrate that guy. And next, we got -52 times 15. Okay, -52 times 15. The signs are opposite. The answer is going to be negative. And then you're going to have to go over and do whatever method that you like to do to solve 2-digit numbers. Maybe you do the area model, maybe do the standard algorithm, which is what I'm going to do. That's going to give us 26. I'm running out of space, and 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 5 is 5. I'm going to change colors so I can write in this orange section and say 0 plus 0 is 0, 6 plus 2 is 8, 5 plus 2 is 7. So our answer is -780. Why is it negative? The signs are different. All right. How you guys feeling about that? I assume you're feeling great because that was an amazing video. And because this lady keeps yelling at me to wrap things up, I'm going to go ahead and do so. I sued the airport. Do you guys know that? I had a big old lawsuit with the airport because I lost my luggage. Okay? And guess what? I lost the case. That's one of the staples of bad jokes. It's 2 words that mean the same thing. So I lost my luggage, but luggage is also known as a case. And that's funny.